Yes. Anybody remembers the name of the film director? I just realized that I had not been recording the class, so I started the recording. Okay. Um, this is one important point that we will need to coordinate. Okay. Uh, for those who will be missing the class, or later on you would like to cover the class or look at the teaching or some of the points that I'd like to share in the class. So you can always have a look at the recording. Okay, so I just realized that I had not been recording. So Fiona, yeah, Sumedh is saying something. Sumedh, you would want to, you
Yes,
raised your hands. Yeah, please tell me.
about the director, sir.
हाँ बोलिए.
Sir, Aniket Mitra, sir.
Very good. Aniket Mitra. Yeah, the director is Aniket Mitra. You're absolutely right, Sumedh. Yeah, Aniket Mitra is the director of this movie. So um, I'll just put it up here because a director is very important. The one who is actually gives life to the movie. Okay, so I'll put it as a floating kind of a topic. Okay, so I will just say that Aniket Mitra, no? So I'll just put it down just so that we'll remember. Okay. Interesting because Aniket Mitra was trying to communicate something very interesting. You have been able to pick out the social issues, some of the social issues, but there are a lot more social issues that are being reflected in this movie. I was happy that one of you pointed out that the boy did have abilities, and also the fact that the boy had a dream. Okay, now this little clipping is known as a short film. Okay, so it is one of the mediums. क्या है एक फिल्म है जो अनिकेत मित्र जो डायरेक्टर है, he was trying to communicate to the audiences a particular meaning. Okay, so some of you were able to pick it out in terms of the social issues that were focused on. Some of you spoke about the abilities, but was there a sense of one particular message that was coming through this entire clipping or this entire film? Anybody would like to say what was the main message, or rather, what was the director trying to communicate? Aniket Mitra, what was he trying to communicate through this entire film? Anybody would like to make an attempt to say? You said all these points. Now I'm coming to the central theme. Okay, so I'd like to put it down as a kind of a theme. What would be the theme of this entire this story? What is the theme that you are looking at? So suppose if you say this is the theme, what was the theme of the entire clipping? Anybody? Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yes, Satyam, please go ahead.
So, unheard voices.
Okay, so Satyam says, I'll just put it down. So it's an unheard voice. In what sense do you make this kind of a title?
So, because his voice may be unheard, like maybe his economic condition, or maybe the love he didn't get, the nurture, the nutrition level, or a lot of problems he faces, and basically that priority he doesn't get from the society what he deserves at that age, because like no one is supportive, no one is caring for him, and hence his voice is unheard. Like that's why, sir,
Okay.
I feel.
Okay, so Satyam has said that it is probably unheard voices that got reflected in this lovely little clipping of the paper boy. Okay, anybody else would like to from this little mind map that I've drawn on the screen? Can you speak about what is it telling you? What kind of a theme are we looking at? Anything that you think came out strongly? I said there is a kind of a theme, a kind of a one image that came very strongly right through the entire movie, right? I think one of you picked it up. It's the shoes, correct? Okay. What does a shoe tell you? Was it contrasted with something else in the beginning? Did you realize that? The shoes was contrasted with something else. What did he have before he had the shoes? Anybody else? I think only Fiona and Satyam have seen the movie, and Violet, three of you. The rest, I think, unfortunately, have not been.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah. Who is this?
as feel that every is called to live life like a free bird.
Yes, Sushma. Yeah. So he was like a free bird. Okay. Yes. And so, what are you trying to say, Sushma?
Means he had his own choices, his own freedom, his own dreams and desires, and he want to achieve it by living his life as he want to be.
Okay. So Sushma sees it as a kind of a free life that he had before. Okay, so a kind of a free life that he had before. Okay, so this is, but then you say the shoes are kind of binding him down.
No, sir. When he had shoes, that time he was very happy. At the
Okay,
beginning, he was not enjoying his job because he has to work just to survive. But when he got shoes, he was doing his job happily, jumping around and doing his duty
okay,
properly.
okay. So the shoes was a kind of a freedom that he experienced. Okay, so shoes symbolizing the freedom that he kind of. So you're saying the shoes, the director was trying to show how the free life that he see, these are all the message that you're getting. The director was trying to communicate to you all. Okay, he was trying to communicate to you about the life of this little child. Okay, so now I'll come straight away to what this whole short film was about. The short film was about a little boy, okay, named Raja, a paper boy. Okay, where was it set? Were you able to pick it up? It was set in Kolkata. If you know the scenes, it was constantly being showed in a very a kind of a place in Kolkata, probably a slum area, or rather the old Kolkata, where you had these doors, and he was staying close to that little river. On the horizon, you could see the Hooghly Bridge. Okay, you could see a lot of people doing their washing and bathing. So it was at a very common place, and probably he lived in some kind of an urban slum. Okay, we don't know much about his family, but he seemed to be living alone because the way he was washing those vessels and some things that probably he lived his life. So probably he lived alone. We don't know. But the film was not concentrating on those aspects. The film was concentrating on him as a child, as a paper boy who had a little profession. It was in one way he was working, child labor, but it was something that was pulling him down. And you notice the slippers, he was wearing slippers or chappals as we call it. Okay, and he saw in his daily life a kind of a dream, a hope. And what was that dream? The dream came to him first as symbolized by the director in the form of a shoes. Okay, the shoes that gave wings to his life. So I agree with you in one way that it was depicting freedom. It was depicting the voices from within himself. Okay, he was listening to that, and suddenly you had the dream coming out very explicitly. The dream that was coming out very clearly in the form of a path which spoke to the boy about paper, pencils, books. What does that tell you about? Paper, pencils, book. What does it tell you about? Hello? Um, Anybody would like to respond? What does it tell you about? Hello?
Education. Sorry.
Right.
Schooling.
Education.
Exactly. So it's talking about education. So this dream, I would like to put it down here as he was kind of given a dream by somebody. We don't know who that somebody is because the director purposely does not show who that person is. Was that person another child? Was that person a social activist who was trying to awaken in him his condition? We don't know. But a dream was presented to him in the form of an education. A dream was presented to this young boy in the form of paper, pencils, and books. And he was drawn towards the freedom of the shoes, which was giving him that. And you notice one thing, students. You notice how was the film shot? Was it shot in color?
No, sir.
In black and
No, sir.
white?
It's
You
a
noticed? You
Black and
noticed it
white.
was, why black and
Yes,
white?
sir.
Why black and white?
Because his life may be black and white, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. There was color that was missing in his life. And you can imagine that shoes, if it had color. Yeah. So that is what his life seems to be like a colorless life in black and white. And you know, normally if you go and look at art films, incidentally, there is the International Film Festival going on in Goa. I mean, you know, so I have just come back from there, and it started on the 20th of November. You know, interestingly, we have a lot of lovely short films and international films in all kinds of languages. And if you notice, many of the films are very often, even in this age, sometimes shot in black and white. And one of the most masterpieces of, in fact, those who have won awards very often are the films that are shot in black and white. Okay, for a particular contrast that it is trying to bring about. You notice the shades of black and white. Go back to the film. It has won an award, this movie. Okay, there is no, uh, you know, more telling story that when you do it in black and white sometimes. Okay, so very interestingly, the director Aniket was focusing on some very deep layers of I would call it deep layers, in the sense of he was speaking about certain underlining messages. And therefore, my first question to you as I began this course was, what did this film communicate to you? Okay. So for me, when I saw this film, it was communicating to me a dream of this boy. It was communicating a life that this boy was seeking to fulfill. He is like any other child looking towards the horizon. Okay, he's looking at fulfilling his dreams, but he's caught up in the rat race of livelihood, or would you call it labor, because he has to earn money for his daily sustenance, for his daily life. Okay, so students, I'd like you to view today we are living in a world of all these WhatsApp videos that you see keep coming out, okay? These 2-minute videos of dance and jumping around. Sometimes it could be a lot meaningless, but when you look at films from this perspective, even a 15-minute film, like this short film, they're called short films. This 15-minute film has been so impactful, okay? Now, why am I telling you all this at the beginning of a development communication course? Okay, because I'm introducing you to the topic of communication. I'm introducing you to what does communication mean. Okay, now from this little film that you have seen, what is it that we understand about communication? Okay, would you like to put it down in 2 sentences? I will take a break of 5 minutes. Okay, we will take a break of 5 minutes and we'll come back. Okay, we'll come back and I would like you to put down your thoughts on what is communication according to you. Put it down in 2 lines. Okay, and this will become the basis of your understanding of communication and the foundation of our entire course on development communication. Okay. I would like you to put it down in 2 lines saying what is communication according to you. Okay. The director of this movie of Paperboy was communicating something to the audiences. He was communicating a theme. He was communicating a message. Okay. So what is communication all about? Okay. We take a break for 5 minutes. It is 11:05 now or 11:04. You can see it on the screen. And we'll come back at 11:10. Okay, we'll take a break of 5 minutes and we'll come back at 11:10. Okay, it's 11:05 by your watch now. Am I clear? Hello?
Yes,
Am
yes,
I?
sir.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, fine. We'll take a break and we'll come back in exactly 5 minutes. 11:10, we'll restart. Thank you. Okay, now we are back again. Okay, and we shall resume our class. This is the second lecture, so I'm making a note of the attendance in terms of those who are probably online. Okay, so 50 have dropped down to 45 now in the second class. I do hope you return back, the 50 of you. So let's begin again. Before we go on to the second class, anybody would like to summarize what I have been trying to say in this last 1 hour since I began? Anybody in the class would like to summarize it? Summarize whatever I have been speaking. Okay, so I can help you to do that. Yes, Satyam, please go ahead.
Yes, so we were trying to understand the term communication, like how it works. We tried to view a short film, it acting as a platform. So we understood like how the medium helps us to communicate from the director, Aniket Mitra, and taking the various meanings, like the sense, the message we get. Some of like we tried to break the themes, we tried to discuss some of the shots were taken, how the his life were black and white and why it was depicting. So we were trying to know about the communication, his dream that the he sees through his shoes, and why he was trapped in the rat race, and how like what the director wants to speak. So just not just by words. So like I also was writing about your like views about the communication. So I wrote like not necessarily through words, but to make others visualize our thoughts or expression through various other means. Like I also written that one. Like so, we were trying to understand the term communication, sir.
Okay. So you're saying communication, according to you, is not necessarily through words, but how? What are you saying then? Through some medium, you said, no? Through some means.
Yeah, to make others visualize our thoughts or expression through other means. Yeah, mediums or means.
Okay, through some means. Okay, I'll just put down what you have said. Okay, anybody else would like to define communication as you see it? I gave you a little example to begin with in this class, in the previous class. I gave you an example so that you would be able to base yourself on an understanding of communication. Okay, um, but you could even be as simple as how you understand communication. जैसे आपको समझ में आता है कि संभाषण कैसे होते हैं. How do you communicate? I think संभाषण is communication, right, in Hindi. um, so how do you actually communicate, or what is communication to you? Anybody would like to speak? You can speak in Hindi or in Marathi or whatever, or in English. Okay, anybody else would like to speak? What is communication according to you? Let us begin with where you are right now, students. Okay, how do you perceive, how do you understand communication? Okay, please go ahead. Satyam has voiced his opinion. Anybody else in the class?
Sir, shall I try?
Please go ahead. Yeah, who is this?
Violet, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead, Violet. I was just
Uh,
trying to determine where are you. Okay, yeah, Violet.
uh,
Okay, please go
for
ahead,
me,
Violet.
communication is giving message to the person by anything like different means like talking, reading, videos, pictures. So that I felt that way.
So you're saying communication is giving a message to different means. Okay, so
Yes,
I put down. Okay, so you have spoken, you've mentioned about two important points. That is, one is by uh, you communicate through reading, you said, right?
yes,
And
yes, sir.
what else?
Reading, writing, or some videos, pictures, all that.
Okay. So through videos. Okay. Okay, that seems to be interesting. Okay, some pictures. I'll put it down all that you have mentioned. Okay. Okay, so you have been able to say that this is how you understand communication. It's about giving a message. Okay. Anybody
Yes.
else would like to add value to this understanding of what is communication? I'm putting it in inverted commas so that you will be able to highlight it. Okay. Anybody else?
Sir,
Please go ahead. Please go ahead. I can see. Yeah. Sushma, please go ahead. Yeah, I saw you unmute. Yeah.
the best of communication.
Your voice broke, Sushma. Can you repeat that?
Yes. Perfect behavior is the best form of communication because they say actions speak louder than words.
Okay, so behavior is a form of communication. That's what you're saying. Okay, exactly as you say it, I'm putting it down. So what you're saying is mm, behavior is a form of communication. Okay, that's interesting. I put down what you said.
So actions, sir. Action
Okay,
speaks
so
louder than words.
yeah, so you're saying it is a form of, yeah, so it is through actions. Okay, so actions.
Yeah.
I'll write it like that. Okay, okay, fine. So communication is through how you behave or you live your life. Okay, fine. That's interesting. That's another this thing. Anybody else would like to put down how do you understand communication?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Please go ahead.
I would
Yeah,
say
who is this?
Noemi.
Siley. I don't see you. 1 minute.
Noemi. Noeme.
Sorry, who is this? I
Noemi.
can't. Sorry,
So Naomi.
Naomi. Okay, because her voice is very feeble, very soft. Okay, Naomi, please go ahead.
Uh, uh, According to the previous one, it's I feel communication is not only giving a message but also receiving it.
Okay, so communication is giving and receiving a message. Now I just put that down. Interesting. Now you are coming, all of you are being able to reflect a little bit more, and you are coming now to understand and think about really what is communication. Okay, giving and receiving a message. Okay, that's nice, Naomi. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yes, please go ahead. Who is this?
Sumedh here, sir.
Yes, Sumit, please go ahead. I know you, Sumit. Please go ahead.
Sir, I think listening or hearing is also an essential element, sir.
Okay, so you're saying communication is also listening. Okay, I'll put it down. Listening or hearing, as you're saying. Okay, so that is also an important part of communication. It's listening. Very true, because communication is not only about speaking, it's also about listening. And I think somebody else also spoke about behavior. Okay, so that's interesting. Yeah, so that's coming out very nicely. Anybody else would like to speak? Okay, you know what? I'm going to ask you to actually put down all these thoughts of yours, because the more you are able to put it down on paper, as I mentioned to you, write two sentences on what is communication according to you. Write it down, because when you begin to articulate or express yourself, okay, when you begin to speak out your mind, when you can put your thoughts down onto paper, that's when you will learn the art of communicating. The art of communication is not only in speaking, the art of communication is in different forms. Okay, I started off this class by depicting one form of communication, and that is through short films. Now, communication is also what's happening between you and me. I am communicating on this online platform. I am speaking to you and I'm seeking a response from you. Okay, so as you said, giving and receiving a message. Okay, it is communication is about a two-way process. Okay, we'll come down to understanding the various dimensions of communication, but I would want you now to understand communication, okay, as a two-way process whereby there is a speaker and a listener. Okay, there is one who communicates and there is one who receives the message. There is one who codes the message, the one who decodes the message. There is a giving and a receiving. And at the same time, this is communicated through a whole process. Okay, this process is clearly understood. Okay, I'm sorry, I forgot that I've not put on my camera. Okay, so this process is communicated, through a whole means where there is a loop, a feedback loop. Okay, so you have a message that is sent from a speaker to a receiver. Okay, and that cycle gets complete. Okay, the the message is coded in words or in films or in pictures. It can be anything. So there's a process of coding it. It is in words. Okay, and that gets decoded by the person who's listening. Okay, like for example, as I gave you this morning, I asked, what did this film communicate? That means, what was Aniket trying to speak to us? Aniket was trying to code a message, and that message was in the form of a story about this paper boy. Okay, Raja. It's about his life. It's about what he was going through. What was his aspirations? Now you as a listener and a viewer would be able to pick these elements out and understand the dreams of that young boy. So what was happening? There is a two-way communication that is taking place. Communication is a process. It's a two-way communication between a sender and a receiver. Okay, and that is what you will find happening. But today's class is what? This subject which I'm communicating to you, which we are going to talk about, is what? What is the topic? What is our subject name? I think all of us are familiar with it. Okay, it is development communication. Now, what does this term development communication mean? Okay, I will not explain it right now. Probably we will take it in depth. We will try to understand this in the context of communication and understand what is development communication all about. But before that, I would like to introduce you to the entire syllabus that we would need to cover. And for that, I have a little presentation for you, which I'm sharing right away with you. Okay, so we have this topic called development communication. Okay, as you can see on your screen, I do hope you can see my screen. Students, can you see my screen? Hello?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So I'm introducing this topic in a little roundabout fashion, because I believe that you need to understand some basic points before we go into the depth of the matter, before we begin to understand the nuances of this subject. Communication is very beautiful topic, and I'm sure all of you will enjoy and learning because it's so practical. It is so expressive. Okay, So what is it all about? I'm sorry, it should be SEM 4. I made a little mistake. It is now you are no longer in SEM 3, you are in SEM 4. Okay. Okay. I also would like to introduce you to the understanding of, so I have a little activity to you to go through that. Okay. But before that, I would like to introduce you to the, the units that we'll be covering. Okay. I will look at the our syllabus. Okay, our syllabus is divided into 6 units. Okay, 6 units. Okay, I will also do one thing is I'll open up this thing here. I'm giving you an introduction into the 6 units, and so that later on, sorry. Okay, I was on this slide. I'll just go to the syllabus. Each one of you would have a syllabus copy. Okay, I'm just going to open up this topic and help you to understand this. Okay, so this is your topic. Okay, let me just introduce you to this. It is semester 4. You have 4 credits for this course. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, this course has the rationale of the course. That means why are we doing this course? Okay, this course is important for you because of particular reason. Okay, as understood by the college sees it as very important for you to develop a skills. Okay, what are the skills associated with communication? We just now saw the meaning of communication. Okay, so the college would like you to understand what are the various skills and what are the various aspects of the types of media that you will be using in the social work context. Like, for example, puppets, street plays, okay, and various other visual and social media. Very interesting topics, and I'm sure all of you will love this. Okay, what are the objectives that the college has set up? I'm quickly going through this, and then I will come to your. I'm showing you this so that you can make a note of it, and now I will lead you to an exercise after what I'm showing you. Okay, objectives of the course is to understand the processes, the types, the levels and the various dimensions of communication. That means I just introduced it to what is communication. So what is this process of communication are we going to look at? Okay. What are the various dimensions? Understanding the role and communication in the development field. I said it is a 2 words, this topic, development communication. In the earlier class, I only spoke about communication, but now we will need to go a little deeper and say, during this entire course, how do I understand the role and the application of communication in the field of development? Think about it. Okay, I'm not giving you the answer because I'm going to now take you to another exercise. To understand and utilize group and mass media. What is group media? What is mass media? Okay, think about these terms that are going to come up in this course. What are these various skills that we are going to learn? You will pick up certain skills that will be associated, that will be linked to your practice as a social worker. What are these various settings? Like, for example, when you're working in a group, what are the various skills of communication that you will use? Okay, so what are the outcomes that are expected? It is expected that you would learn the processes, the types, levels, and the barriers in communication. Okay, What are the different types of communication? What are the different levels of communication? What is the barriers? What is it that stops us from actually becoming good, effective communicators? Okay, you will understand the relationship between communication, development, and social work. As I told you, the word development is very important. How do you understand communication that leads to development or leads to an effective implementation of your work in social sphere, in the social work, uh, you know, place? The learner will understand the use of various groups and mass media for social work practice. Okay, how do I use the different media? Like for example, puppets. Okay, how do I learn to understand what are puppets? How do I use puppets? What is street plays? How do I use street plays? Now, these are the things that would be some of the practical aspects that you will pick up. Okay. Now let me introduce you to the units. Okay, as I told you, there are 6 units. Okay, so what are these 6 units going to cover? The first unit, the first unit is covering an introduction. Okay, it is introducing you to the whole understanding of communication. As you can see, I've already begun the portion because in the first class I went directly into the topic. And now I'm telling you in a bird's eye view, I'm telling you in a nutshell, I'm giving you a total understanding of what to expect from this course. In this course, you will be introduced to communication, you will understand what is development communication, what is group media, mass media, social media, and media ethics, and also you'll be introduced to journalism skills. So in the first unit, as I said, communication. What is communication? What are the types and levels and barriers in communication? What is this historical development in communication? How do we see communication evolve? Okay. How did communication evolve down the years? Okay, so that's very interesting to learn, because I'll be talking to you about the various waves of communication. How did communication progress through the various fields? Okay. Then the second unit is like the heart of the course in understanding communication as applicable in the development sector. Okay, so development communication, what is its meaning? How is it relevant to our field in terms of inclusive and non-inclusive development? Okay, is our communication today really counting in terms of being effective? I'll give you a small example. Okay, take for example what's happening in today's news. Do you watch the news? Okay, I'm sure you watch some portions of the news, or maybe some talk shows, or some things that are getting covered in some channels. Okay, so are that communication that is taking place, is it really working towards inclusive and, is it inclusive development? Is it leading to making all people develop as a group, as a community, as a country, as a nation? Okay, so there are lots of questions. I'm just putting this down to you. Then the communication theories. What are the various ways in which we communicate? How has communication taken place? What are some of the theories associated with communication? What are some of the development paradigms? Paradigms matlab, what is the framework that is being used in order to understand communication? Don't worry about the big terms, because I will break it down for you. Okay. Functions and priorities of media in addressing development issues. Okay. What is media today? Are they really addressing development issues? And that's a very interesting question to be asked. Okay. Then in the third unit, you will look at specific media. Okay, group media is for media that you use within small groups. Okay, therefore it is called group media. When you're working with groups, when you're working with communities. Okay, so what is the different types of media that you'll use? I'm sure you'll enjoy each of these things that are mentioned here on your screen. We're going to look at stories, we're going to look at games, posters, flashcards, photo language, puppets, street play. What are the different indigenous folk media? जैसे हम कहते हैं मीडिया जो कम्युनिटी से जुड़ित है. For example, Nautanki, okay, you have Yakshagan, Tamasha, you have Ovi. These are all the different ways in which people culturally have been using theatre, using a form of communication that has evolved with the community. So can we as social workers use folk media? That is important to understand. What is the strengths and limitation of each of these various, aids? Selecting the appropriate media. Now, if you're working with a smaller group, say with the women in the community, what is the kind of media that you will use? Probably you'll use flashcards or you'll use posters, okay? Or you might even use a story if you're talking to children. You would be using street play when it is a bigger community or when you want to go down and attract the attention of the people. So it's important to understand and select your media as per your need. Okay. Then we move on to the fourth unit, a very interesting unit. This unit focuses on media, I think, which all of us are involved with. In the first class, I gave you a little introduction to films. And I started off with films because that each one of you, I'm sure in this class, have tried your skills on coming up with short films, isn't it? You have done some little, what they call it, memes or what क्या कहते हैं उसे? आप Instagram में क्या करते हैं? Reels, correct? Hello? आप reels बनाते हैं? Okay.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah, so today's world we are looking at people who are coming up with all kinds of reels, but these are for entertainment purpose. We as social workers, how can we use the same medium? Okay, we could even use a reel, but how can we make it powerful enough to attract the attention of the audience? Okay, and probably make it viral in certain cases when we have an issue to bring forth. We'll talk a lot about these things. Okay, we'll talk about newspapers, which has been the very foundation of communication, especially during the freedom struggle, and later on, even till today, newspapers are very popular. Television. Now today we don't use much television except when we use television that is connected to social media. But in the past, television formed a very integral part of people's family life. Like, for example, you had a lot of, these, what they call it, serials up there. Okay, so serials and all kinds of, uh, some programs, cultural programs, all these kinds of things. Okay. There's another form of mass media which is touching a lot of people, that is radio. And I'd like to focus a little bit more on community radio. What is all this about? Do you use radio today? How popular is radio? How can you use radio as a means of getting the community together, especially rural communities? Very interesting topic. Internet. This I don't need to speak much because probably you'll teach me more than I know. How can we use the internet effectively to impact audiences? And finally, at the end, we'll be looking at the strengths and limitations of each of these mediums, selecting the appropriate medium as per the need. Okay, isn't this interesting? Now we go on to the next unit, which is again a very fascinating unit, where we are talking about social media. Media as understood by platforms like you have Facebook, Instagram, and all the likes. Okay, YouTube, and all the rest. Okay, I will talk to you about the various kinds of networks and the understanding of how you can impact the use of social media positively on the various groups that you're working with. Okay, interestingly done by various organizations. I have a lot of examples on this. Okay, using social media and social work for promotion, visibility, fundraising. Think about it. What is it that you could use social media for? And finally, where do we, what do you call it, tie the loose ends, or probably, if I may say, crack the whip, or keep guidelines? That is a better term. What are the guidelines for using social media? How do we encounter fake news so prominent in today's society? Okay. And finally, in the sixth unit, which is again a very practical unit from the point of view of how we will learn a few skills. One is the writing skill. I know that many of you may not be so interested in writing, but I'll tell you, writing is a very powerful medium. You know, you could use writing so profitably to bring out your thoughts and speak what is in your heart, what is in the inner recesses of your mind, to be able to delve further into your mind, to go deeper. So what happens is, in writing, you are able to report. Reporting forms a very important thing. And today with social media, blogs, and all kinds of reports that find its expression in very creative manner. Okay. We also have photo editing. Okay. This is another very interesting skill that all of us are pretty good at. We click photographs, then we mess around with the photographs, put a caption to it. Okay, so very interesting photo editing that you could do in order to impact communities. Web and print designing. Oh my, it's such a vast topic. You know, how do we actually come up with some kind of visibility that impacts the community? And finally, in this unit, we have the role of a netizen. A netizen is a person who is a citizen of the internet world. Okay, he or she has access, participation, and is able to use the media or the internet profitably in order to make an impact in the community he or she is serving. Also influencing policy. As we know, social work is not related to a few communities, but how can we change policy? That could be also thought about. Okay, so now these are very six interesting aspects of communication in the context of development that we'll be looking at. Okay, summarizing all this. Okay, these 6 units is a very power-packed course that we have before you, and we see this course very clearly expressed in 48 hours. Okay, 48 hours in terms of, actually, if we may say, well, maybe around 24 full days. Okay, where we will probably have lectures, and wherever we can have 2 lectures, we'll try to work it out. Where we can't, then we will have 1 lecture. Okay. So we have an assignment coming up for 30 marks. Okay. You have 5 marks for class participation, 5 marks for attendance. Okay. And of course, the semester end examination will be 60 marks, which will have a set pattern. Okay. So probably that set pattern of question papers, you could collect it, you know, or right now. I think you have had your lunch. I still have to have my lunch later on. Okay. Well, why was I talking about this important part of attendance and class participation? Class participation is important. I know right now, today being the first class, I can only name a few, and I have made a note of those who have participated. If your participation is lacking, you will not get the 5 marks that is deserved for you. Okay? Your rating will go down, and I will give you a chance to participate. I'll give each one of you a chance to participate in every class. I'm working out a schedule whereby each one of you will be able to participate. Those in the class, because now we are having the hybrid mode, but later on it will be also the larger class that will participate. Attendance, okay. Unfortunately, today is the fully online mode, and I can see many of you who are present and have gone offline. Okay, unfortunate, because you would be missing out on a lot of things. Then the semester end examination, which consists of 60 marks, 3 out of 5 questions. Okay, so these things I will share with you a little later, like the assignment. I will give you an assignment and put it up on Teams. Okay, I will also share it with you in the group so that becomes easier for those who find it difficult to work through Teams. Okay, but you will soon get to know how to use Teams. Okay, for your class participation, I have also kept a kind of a quiz at the end of the week. So what I'm going to do is at the end of the week on Thursday, okay, I'm going to have a little kind of a quiz, and your participation in the quiz will determine how much have you paid attention in the class, how much have you understood what I have shared, how much have you participated in the class. Okay, if possible, I will try out new techniques of having that quiz sometimes even in between the week, but generally I will keep it on a Thursday towards the end of the class, where we can have a short quiz that will summarize the week and will also test your abilities on how much have you understood during the classes and how much have you actually paid attention. Okay, so that is with regard to the course requirement. This is with regard to references. Okay, I'll give you a lot of easy references. Okay, some of the recommended references is through the syllabus that has been shared with you, but I too will give you a few more important references. Okay, and if possible, I'll post this in your group and also on Teams. Now, if you notice in Teams, I have created a special channel for development communication, and within this channel, automatically your name and your position will be actually marked. So your participation also will show. Another important thing that I will do is I will need to coordinate with your CR, and we will need to have at least one person from your class who will coordinate with me with regard to development communication. I know for sure that Fiona is in charge. Isn't it right, Fiona? Are you the class representative or the CR, or is there anybody else? Now let me get these points clear. Fiona, are you there as the class representative? CR?
Sir.
Yeah, very good. So now what I need to do is I would like to have a class coordinator who will help me to coordinate along with Fiona. Fiona has a lot of responsibilities in being CR. But for development communication, I would like one to two of you to volunteer in order to communicate with me very specifically with regard to development communication. Like, for example, I'll give you one of the things that you will be doing is taking the link, okay, and downloading it into a specific YouTube channel which I'm starting on development communication. So the lectures which I give will get immediately uploaded onto this development communication YouTube channel. Okay, so that students who have missed out on my lectures can always go back and see what I taught, because I take a lot of effort in preparing for my lectures. And we'll be having quiz and you will automatically know how you stand. Okay, but this channel will not be for public consumption. It will be available as a link that will be uploaded immediately after the class onto this YouTube channel. Okay, but this YouTube channel link will be shared only in the development communication class. Okay, so that you can go back to it and we can number this, and accordingly we can keep a record of all our lectures, because I know for sure that Teams, after a while, Teams uh, cancels off the recordings. Am I right, Fiona? Hello? Uh, those who have used Teams in the past 1 year, 1.5 year that you have been in the college, have you found it easy to use Teams recorded? Hello?
No, sir.
No, you've not found it easy. Yes or no? No.
No,
Okay.
sir.
Yeah, you've not been able to. No. So what we need to do is to see and find a way of downloading the recording and loading it immediately onto a YouTube channel, which will be our development communication channel. And in this channel, I'm going to introduce you to a lot of beautiful things. Okay. The lectures will be only one component of it, and I will look at coming up with different class interactions, forums. All your creativity can come out in this YouTube channel for development communication class. Okay, so tell me now, who would like to volunteer to start with, to be able to coordinate with me with regard to this YouTube thing? Anybody would like to take a chance and to volunteer? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, who is that?
Chaitanya, sir.
Oh, wonderful. So Chaitanya, yeah. Along with Chaitanya, can I have another person? Because Chaitanya will be available, but also Chaitanya needs to have a colleague, preferably if we have, uh, you know, young woman also from the class, young girl. Anybody would like to volunteer with Chaitanya? Hello? Yeah, so anybody else is there? I'm making a note of it so that we can coordinate that. I'll just make a note of it.
Loud, yeah.
Sorry, I heard a